Welcome to Leadership Live. I'm Anton Gunn. Today, we're going to have a coaching conversation about your first 30 days of the year. We are literally at the end of the very first month of this year. And so it's a great time to evaluate your progress. It's a great time to evaluate your team's progress. And so it doesn't matter if you're an individual who works alone or if you work as a part of a team or you lead a team. The first 30 days is a great time to evaluate your progress. And this is a leadership strategy that all great leaders use. And so today I have on my Gamecock shirt. I play football at the University of South Carolina. I play for a couple different coaches. I've also watched a lot of sports. And when I mean a lot of sports, I'm talking a lot of sports. My favorite sport at present is college basketball, particularly women's college basketball, where my Gamecocks are the defending national champs. So as a part of that, we're going to have a conversation in the lens of sports, really for you as a leader to evaluate your team's progress at the present time. So let me lay it out for you like this. Every coach goes into a game with a game plan, that they spend their time before the game even starts preparing for that game. They set out what their goals are, what their measurables are, what their key performance indicators might be. I know in football, a lot of coaches will talk about a key performance indicator is how many chunk plays can we get, which is how many plays can we get that are more than 20 yards. If we can get 5 or more chunk plays, we're going to win the game. In basketball, coaches will also have a KPI that says if we have 0 turnovers in the first half, we're going to win this game. Or if we win the turnover battle, we're going to win this game. In football, it's also the same way, that if you don't have any turnovers, chances are you're going to win. Like if we watched any of the NFC championship game last week, you saw that the Washington Commanders have 4 turnovers. You can't win when you turn the ball over. So the main point is this. Every coach sets out their game plan. They know what their key performance indicators are before the game even starts. But when the game starts, they also have a process and a system to evaluate whether they need to change up the game plan. Because you can go into a game with a plan. You can literally have everything laid out. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this way. Here are the goals that we're going to set. You can have all of those plans in the world. But when the game happens, you have no idea what the opposition has been preparing themselves. You don't know what their game plan is. You can estimate their game plan, but you have no idea what it's going to be and how it's going to impact your plan. And so Mike Tyson has this famous quote that everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. And that's the main point is you can come in with your strategy. You can come in with your plan. You can come in knowing what you're going to do. But when you get hit with that first punch from the opposition, your plan might have to change. Your plan may need to adjust. So today we're going to talk about strategies for success to evaluate your team, to evaluate your plan. Now, I know we are only 28 days into the year, and there's been some massive changes, some massive disruptions to the way people thought their lives were going to be in 2025. I'll give you 2 examples. Example number 1 is the one that's on the front page of every newspaper and every news article that's on every news channel is the executive orders that are coming down from the White House from President Donald Trump. These executive orders are disrupting the plan that a lot of people had about their work, about their lives, about their futures, about their businesses, about how they were going to operate every day. This is a massive disruption. So whether it's the freezing of all payments on the grants, I mean, imagine if you are a researcher who works in a cancer hospital and you're researching diseases that relate to cancer to try to prevent them, to stop them, or to cure them. And then all of a sudden, you get this notice on this executive order that your funding has been halted. That is a punch in the mouth. Or imagine you work in a Fortune 500 company and your role has been to make sure that you have an inclusionary process to recruit the best and most diverse talent you can so that you can have great outcomes as a business. And then your board tells your CEO to abandon all diversity, equity, and inclusion programming, policies, and work. So your plan was to set some big goals around achieving some metrics as it relates to diversity, but you got punched in the mouth. And so you're 30 days in and you don't necessarily know if your plans are going to be able to be executed. Just like every coach, if they're coaching in a basketball game, many of them will say the first 5 minutes of the first quarter is going to tell me what I need to do to adjust to give us a chance to win this game. Because you don't know if the team's going to come out and press you. You don't know if they're going to come out and shoot threes. You don't know if they're going to double team your post player. You don't know if they're just going to play aggressive basketball and full court press you all the way down. So you got 5 minutes to figure out what the other side is doing, what the team is doing on the other end, what your opposition is doing, and then you have to adjust. You got to change. In football, coaches will sometimes script the first 10 plays on offense. We're going to run these 10 plays. We're going to run our plan and then see what the other team is doing. And if those plays were successful, we might keep doing it. But if they stop 8 out of our 10 plays, if they stop 80% of our plan, then we immediately are going to have to adjust. So maybe it's the first drive, maybe it's the first 5 minutes, but for you and for your team and for your organization, it's the first 30 days. So you're 30 days through the year. What are you doing to evaluate your team's progress to make sure you're successful? Well, I'm going to give you 4 strategies that you should do that will help you. This won't take long at all because it's pretty self-explanatory. But these are also the things you should do personally. Like if you set some personal goals for yourself, evaluate your progress over the first 30 days to see what you need to do next. So here's step 1. The first thing you need to do is you need to pull those goals out and revisit them. There's so many people who make goals at the beginning of the year. They set out what their goals are and they put them on a piece of paper if they write them down at all, because most people don't write them down. But let's say you wrote your goals down. And then many times people don't look at those goals again until the end of the year. And you have no idea whether you were on track or off track. So I'm telling you right now to revisit your goals, to look at your goals, and then ask the question, after the first 30 days, are these goals still aligned with my vision? Are these goals still aligned with the vision that I have for my team? That's the first question that you need to ask. The second question is, and if you have KPIs, you should be able to answer this question, but a lot of people don't know what a KPI is. I'm going to tell you, it's a key performance indicator. This is an indicator to know whether you're on track or not. So that is the question. Are we on track? So if you set your goals to do 30 things by the end of the calendar year, or let's say 36 things by the end of the calendar year, then that means you should have done at least 3 of them in the first 3 months or the first 30 days. Let's be clear. You got to get to your long-term goal by knowing what your KPI is for the year, and then knowing what your performance indicator is for the month. So it literally would be 3 for the first 30 days. Okay. So the question is, are you on track? If you're not on track, then that is where you need to start mentally preparing for an adjustment. Here's the second thing you need to do to evaluate your team's progress over the first 30 days is to ask them for feedback. So when I mean ask them for feedback, you need to ask your team the following questions. What's going well? What are you doing well? And then ask them what's not going well. And let them tell you what's not going well. Because in football, I know when you come off the field at the end of every series, the coach asks you, what are you seeing out there? Because they can only see certain things from the sidelines, but you're on the field and you can say, Coach, they're crowding the line of scrimmage, or they're not really playing a 3 technique. They're playing a 0 shade on me. So you can explain to your coaches what is going well and what's not going well. Or coach, I can handle this player one-on-one. I don't need a double team anymore. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you can say to answer the question, what's going well and what's not. In basketball, coach, they're leaving me wide open at the top of the key. I can make that shot. Again, these are all of the things that you need to ask your team, what's going well. You need feedback from them. Then the second question you need to ask your team, do you have the tools and the resources to be successful? You want to ask them that. Do you have what you need to win every time you step out there? You got to ask that question. Do you have what you need to win? You got to ask the question. Because if you don't ask the question, your team might need something from you that you're not providing for them. And your job as a leader is to give them what they need so they can succeed. If you have a teammate or if you have a team that is short resources, it's going to be hard for them to achieve the goal. So your job is to give them what they need. And you can ask this in a different way. You can ask them, what can I do to support you? What can I do to help you to succeed? That's what a good leader does all the time, is to ask their team, what's going well? What's not going well? Do you have everything that you need? And then number 3, ask them, how can I support you? How can I support you? That's the second thing you need to do, is engage your team for feedback. Now, here's the third thing you need to do, is you need to review what's going on with your individual contributors. And what do I mean review what's going on? Because you have a team. Everybody is not doing the same job. Everybody's not doing it equally. So you need to look at them person by person, person by person. And you need to ask the question, are they operationalizing their strengths? Are they using their strengths to help us to be successful? Have I put them in position to be able to do what they do best? See, in sports, that's a real key question that coaches need to ask. Like, if you played football and you know that the average wide receiver is 6 feet tall, but you have a receiver who is 6'6" and 240 pounds and can run like the wind, the question is, are you putting that receiver in a position to be successful? You may not be if you're judging them the way you would judge every other receiver. Now, I know I'm getting deep into football here, and some of y'all don't get that, but that's okay. A big, tall guy who's really, really fast, you got to run different plays for him than you would for a smaller receiver who might be fast as well, but they're not big and tall. In basketball, the same way. Are you putting your players in a position to succeed? Do you have your best shooter on the wing to shoot the ball, or do you have your best shooter down in the paint trying to get rebounds, which is not operating in their strengths? So the third thing that you need to do is you really need to evaluate every individual contributor and ask the question, are we leveraging their strengths to the best of the team's ability? And in the workplace, you got to think about it. If a person has marketing skills, are you using all of their marketing skills? If they have deep research knowledge, are you using their deep research knowledge? If they have writing skills, are you using their writing skills? Are you leveraging the strengths that they bring to the table? Sometimes you might not be. And then Going back to the second question, do they have the tools and the resources that they need? Your job as a leader is to get them the tools and resources ASAP. They can't win if you don't get them what they need. That's your job. Get them what they need. Now, here's the third thing that really applies to business is as you review those individual contributors, are there opportunities for growth and professional development? Are there things that they need to do to get better? Do you need to train them up some more? Did you give them a game plan and told them to go execute, but you realizing that they really don't have the skills to execute on that? So you need to evaluate totally, are there opportunities for this person to grow and improve? Do I need to send them back to training? Do I need to put them in a class? Do I need to teach them something as simple as email management? Because you can have a great person who knows how to operate, who can do all of the work possible, but they might need some support in email management if they're not on top of all of the things that they should be on top of. So that's a real key thing for you to do as a leader, is to really review individual contributors. That is the third part of how you evaluate your team's progress in the first 30 days. Now, here's the last one. After you revisited the goals, after you engage your team for feedback and you've asked them the clear questions around what's going on out there, what they need, what are they seeing, what are they doing, what tools do they have, what challenges are they having, how can I support you? Have you done that part? And after you reviewed those individual contributors, here is what you need to do. You need to not be afraid to adjust and realign your goals and evaluate it again over the next 30 days. Because again, the world was one way when you set these goals. But 30 days in, when you get hit with reality, things are changing. As a matter of fact, the only constant in life is change. But growth is optional. So my question for you is, are you prepared to adjust and realign? If you're not, you won't have success. Your team won't have success. But if you really want to win, you need to evaluate your team's progress by revisiting those goals, by asking for feedback from your team, by looking at each individual contributor and see what they're doing. And number 4 is evaluate and adjust. Reevaluate and adjust. It's no harm in reevaluate. It's no harm with recalibrating. Maybe your goal was 36, but you see that, you know what? It was hard to just get one thing done. So maybe we need to readjust that goal and make it 12. Because in the first 30 days, if you only got one done, maybe you only get 12 done in the whole year. So you got to be aggressive. Be aggressive, aggressive, aggressive at adjusting and realigning your goals. That is what great leaders do. That's what a success strategy. That's what great coaches do. I mean, we've all seen the stories in sports of coaches who had a game plan and they went in one way and they got hit with adversity. They got hit with challenge. They got hit with change. And what did they do? They took a certain player out and never put him back in, but then put in somebody else that the other team couldn't prepare for. I mean, that's what I call my breaking analogy. Now, when I say breaking analogy, I know some of you might be too young to remember a movie called Breaking. It was one of the early hip hop breakdancing movies. And there were 2 main characters in the movie, Turbo and Ozone. These were 2 breakdancers who would battle this crew called Electro Rock. And they were battling one time, and Electro Rock bought out a woman breaker who shocked them and punched them in the mouth. And then they came back and prepared and recruited Kelly. And Kelly jumped out there and started doing backflips, and they weren't ready. And so that's how they won the battle. So my point is, great leaders know how to have a game plan. They get hit with adversity. They get hit with challenge. They get hit with change. and they know how to evaluate their team's progress, but they don't wait till the fourth quarter to evaluate the progress. They evaluate it quarter by quarter, but they really check the temperature in the first 30 days. Every coach checks the temperature of a basketball game in the first 5 minutes. That's when they get the jitters out. That's when they settle down, and we see how this game is going to go. And then we start making massive adjustments. In football, it might be the first offensive possession or the first defensive possession or the first drive. It doesn't matter what it is, the first 10 plays. You got to understand, operationalize your game plan, and then evaluate your team's progress. That's what I got for you today. I hope this was valuable to you and helped you to understand that your job as a leader is to make sure your team is successful. And you can't be successful if you don't evaluate your team's progress frequently. In the first 30 days is the time to do 4 things. Revisit those goals. Engage your team and ask them for feedback. Number 3, evaluate and look at your individual contributors. And number 4, adjust and realign your goals, and then see how things play out for the next 30 days. So I want to thank you for watching this episode of Leadership Live. I'll see you next time, same bat time, same bat channel, as we talk more about the strategies to help you to be a better leader, build a better culture, and become the leader that everybody admires. Take care.